It was late on a Friday night, the kind of night where the world feels too quiet, almost like it's holding its breath. I was driving home alone after spending time with a friend, taking the long back-road route that cut through the woods. The air was cold, the road empty, and the only sound was the hum of my tyres against the asphalt. I'd driven this way dozens of times before, but that night felt different. Something about the silence didn't sit right. Halfway down the stretch, I saw it. A man standing on the shoulder of the road. At first, I thought he was injured. My headlights caught the faint outline of his body, tall, lean, wearing a hooded coat. But then I noticed his face. He was wearing a mask. Not the kind for warmth, but a white, expressionless mask that looked like something from a Halloween store. My stomach dropped. I slowed instinctively, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. He didn't move. He didn't even flinch. Just stood there, his head slowly turning to face me as my car approached. Every instinct in me screamed to keep driving, but curiosity and disbelief made me hesitate for half a second, a half second too long. The man suddenly stepped onto the road, blocking my lane. His movements were stiff but deliberate, as if he wanted me to stop. I hit the brakes hard, my headlights flooding him in pale light. For a split second, we just stared at each other, me gripping the wheel, him staring through that blank mask. Then he tilted his head to the side, almost like he was studying me. That was enough. I floored the gas. My tyres screeched as I swerved around him. In the rearview mirror, I saw him step toward the centre of the road again, still watching me. The mask never moved. I sped off, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the engine. A few miles later, I pulled into a gas station just to catch my breath. The attendant inside asked if I was okay. I must have looked pale. I told him what happened, and his face went serious. "You're not the first person to see him," he said quietly. A few others reported a guy wearing a mask wandering the highway at night. No one knows who he is or what he wants. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my window made me jump. For weeks afterward, I avoided that road completely. But sometimes, when I drive alone at night, I still see that blank face in my mind. The mask, glowing white in my headlights, and the man behind it, who never moved, never spoke, and never needed to.
It was a little past midnight when I decided to go for a jog. I lived in a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town, where the only sounds at night came from crickets and the occasional passing car. Running helped me clear my mind, and that night I needed it. I threw on my headphones, laced up my shoes, and set off down the dimly lit street. The cool autumn air felt good, and for the first mile, everything was peaceful. As I entered a stretch of road lined with trees, I noticed something strange. A flicker of movement behind me. I turned, but the street was empty. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just a shadow or maybe an animal. I kept jogging, but every time my foot hit the pavement, I felt like there was another set of footsteps behind me, perfectly synchronized with mine. When I stopped, the sound stopped. When I started again, it started too. I pulled my earbuds out, my heart pounding. The silence was thick, almost suffocating. Then, from somewhere behind me, came the soft sound of running, light, fast footsteps closing in. I turned around, expecting to see another jogger, but there was no one there. The streetlights flickered, and I could feel eyes on me from somewhere just beyond the glow of the lamps. I started running again, faster this time. The footsteps matched my pace exactly, like someone was mirroring my every move. My breathing grew ragged, and I didn't dare look back. When I finally turned a corner onto a better lit street, I stopped and glanced over my shoulder. Nothing, just the empty road stretching behind me. I let out a shaky laugh, telling myself I was being paranoid. That's when I saw him. At the far end of the block, a tall, thin figure stepped out from between two parked cars. He was wearing all black, and his head was tilted slightly, like he was studying me. I froze. The figure didn't move at first. He just stood there. Then suddenly, he started sprinting straight toward me. I bolted. My lungs burned as I ran harder than I ever had before. I could hear his shoes slapping the pavement, getting closer and closer. I veered off the main road and cut through a small park, but when I looked over my shoulder again, he wasn't there. I slowed, gasping for air, trying to listen. Then I heard it, the crunch of gravel to my left. I turned and saw him again, standing at the edge of the trees, motionless, his face hidden in shadow. I ran straight home, locking every door and window. I didn't sleep that night, barely daring to look out the window. When the sun finally came up, I felt safe enough to peek outside. The street was empty except for one thing: muddy footprints leading from the sidewalk to my front porch, stopping right at my door.
It was late October 2017, and the air in rural Ohio was crisp, carrying that familiar scent of dry leaves and wood smoke. My friends and I decided to check out this local pumpkin patch we'd heard about through word of mouth. Small place run by a man named David, who apparently grew the biggest pumpkins in the county. When we arrived, the place looked like something straight out of an old postcard. Faded orange banners hung loosely from wooden posts, and scarecrows stood at the corners of the fields. There were maybe 5 other people wandering around, but it still felt eerily quiet for a fall attraction. David himself was a tall, wiry man with gray hair and hands that looked like they'd been through decades of hard work. He greeted us with a polite smile, but his eyes didn't match the warmth in his words. They lingered a bit too long on each of us, like he was studying something beneath the surface. My friend, Claire, joked about how creepy the scarecrows looked, especially one in the middle of the patch that was wearing a dirty plaid shirt and a burlap sack mask. David overheard her and chuckled, saying that particular one was his favorite, and that it kept the crows away better than any other. We spent about an hour wandering through the pumpkins, laughing and taking pictures, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that we were being watched. Every time I turned around, that same scarecrow seemed to be facing a different direction. I told myself it was just the wind or my imagination, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. When the sun started to set, the orange sky made the scarecrow's silhouette even more unsettling. We decided to head back to the car, but Claire insisted on one last picture with it. As we walked closer, something caught my eye: its hands. They weren't stuffed with straw like the others. They looked too real, with dirty fingernails and bruised knuckles. My stomach dropped. I whispered to Claire to stop, but she laughed, thinking I was just trying to scare her. When she got within a few feet of the scarecrow, a small twitch ran through its arm. She froze. I grabbed her hand and pulled her back, shouting for the others to run. The scarecrow's head tilted slightly, and I swear I saw a flash of an eye through the burlap. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. David was standing near the entrance, smiling that same polite smile as if nothing had happened. We piled in and sped off without a word. The whole drive home, no one spoke. The next morning, Claire called me in tears. She said she'd gone online and found a news article about a missing farmhand who worked for David 2 years earlier, last seen around the same pumpkin patch. The article mentioned the man's distinct tattoos on his forearms. When I remembered the scarecrow's hands, I felt sick. They had the same faded ink marks near the wrists. We went back the next day with the sheriff, but the pumpkin patch was empty. No pumpkins, no scarecrows, no David. The place looked abandoned, like no one had set foot there in years. But scattered across the field were dozens of burlap sacks, each one filled with straw and bones. They were trophies. We never went back to David's pumpkin patch. Halloween came and went, but none of us felt like celebrating.
Don't forget to subscribe because there are more stories like this, waiting to be told.